rated T to M. Hey, want to hear a PC Game Pass ad? I'll take your silence as a yes. Want new games on day one like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 or Stalker 2? I thought so. How about unlocking all the League of Legends champions when you link your Riot Games account? All for one low monthly price? Well, guess what? We got you. Learn more at xbox.com/PC Game Pass or click the banner. Stalker 2 available November 20th, 2024. Game catalog varies by region and over time. And that's the end of the script.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
All right, Hump Day Wednesday. I've got not one but two Christmas parties tonight. As I mentioned earlier, Suzanne Miller right here at the studio, the great Vicky Palladino in Queens. So we'll have a little fun, a little radical departure from Daniel Penny or Luigi Mangione, be the anti-Semitism czar of Brooklyn for President Trump. Put that stuff aside for a second. We'll have some fun with one of the greats. He's now a Radio Hall of Famer and now doing a tremendous job as the host of Breakfast Ball on Fox Sports 1 every weekday morning. He's my dear friend, the great Craig Carton. Craigie, good Wednesday morning, buddy. How are you?
Yes, good morning. Multiple Christmas parties, holiday parties. Look at you.
I've been invited to 4 parties tonight. I swear to God, I'm going to 2. I had to turn down 2.
Wow. So there's a pecking order in Sid Rosenberg's life of what parties you grace with your presence. The real question is your presence the gift? Or do you bring a little something just in case you're not enough?
No, my presence is the gift. Trust me.
I feel the same way. Especially like if you have a friend who, I know this is taking it a bit of a leap, but those dopey destination weddings, like, dude, if I got to get on a plane, fly somewhere, you get a hotel for a couple nights and all that nonsense, I ain't buying you a gift.
No. You're 100% right. And I've done those every now and then, and they are a pain in the ass. They're very expensive. I mean, my destination wedding was I went from one borough to another. I got married in Brooklyn, so it's a big deal.
Hey, honey, we're going to Queens. Woo! Or did you pull there's an old radio bit, like you give a listener a chance to go to Jamaica.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, oh, yeah, we're going to Jamaica. And you wind up at a lousy LIRR stop in Queens.
Hey, listen, Jamaica, the home of both the former governor, Andrew Cuomo, and, of course, the next president of the United States, Donald Trump, both from Jamaica, Queens. But talking about Queens, they've got another new resident coming into town, a big, big name, and this is the sports story, I guess, of the month, Juan Soto. And you knew that Steve Cohen was going to get him. I'm just going to say this. I'm not a Yankee fan, and I think for the Yankees, this was a huge embarrassment. There was no doubt that Soto was their best postseason player last year. Yeah. He's right there with Ohtani and Judge as the 3 best offensive players in baseball. And if George was alive, he'd be furious that his son lost out on Soto. I don't want to hear about contracts. When I was growing up, Craig, you too, contracts didn't matter. Whether it was Hideki Irabu or Sterling Hitchcock, the Yankees absorbed bad contracts. If you're the Yankees, you cannot lose Juan Soto to the Mets. Bottom line.
I hear you. I don't agree, but I hear you. So, look, he's a generational talent. I don't think it's right that, now Yankee fans are poking holes in his game, because they're bitter that they didn't get him. But it also has to be like some point where you go, we've just offered you $760 million over 16 years, more than double what we gave the captain of the Yankees, Aaron Judge. Like, what else do you want? And the fact that Steve Cohen, quote unquote, outbid them by $5 million and won last year, great for the Mets, obviously. And it takes on more meaning because, they got him from the New York Yankees. But, does this guarantee that the New York Mets are winning the World Series next year? No. Are the Yankees most likely going to be in the playoffs next year without him? Yeah. And while, yes, I agree if George were alive, he's probably a Yankee. George has been dead for 20 years now.
Oh, my God.
He's not a Yankee.
Right.
And I just don't know how the Yankees embarrassed themselves. Like, they offered the guy who, by the way, batted .285 last year, $760 million.
They didn't embarrass themselves, but they lost out the sweepstakes to the one team where you just can't do it. I mean, you're right. The Mets went to the NLCS last year. Both the Mets and the Yankees lost to the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are still the best team in baseball, but it's a long season, Craig. You got to get people out there for 81 home games. Yeah. And when you've got a player like Juan Soto on that scoreboard, people will be excited to show up, whether they win the World Series or not.
Yeah, no, look, I'm with you on that, and I think that's a big part of it because, well, the dirty little secret that the New York Mets don't want people talking about is that even with that great, run, and let's be fair, from May 1st on, they were the best team in baseball, record-wise, speaking of the New York Mets, nobody went to watch them play. Their attendance was awful last year for a team that made the playoffs and, like you said, went to the NLCS. The Yankees, meanwhile, just humming along, 3 million fans like they do every year, and that'll continue. So, yeah, I do think attendance takes there'll be a better number overall for the Mets. But, he better win because let's be honest, you've been a Met fan for 55 years. Yeah. Well, what's the rope on this one?
You got to do it this year. Now, of course, there's one additional signing that really would put the pressure on the Mets to win it this year, and that is to bring back first baseman Pete Alonso. Now, you're the Yankees right now on your depth chart. No disrespect to Ben Rice. You can't start the season with Rice as your first baseman. So if you're a Yankee fan, I know you signed Max Fried. That's a big signing, big-time lefty pitcher from the Braves. He got a lot of years, too, by the way, 8 years. But you got to improve that first base situation. Craig Carton, if you're the Yankees, if you're a Yankee fan, do you want Pete Alonso?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually called the Yankees and asked them if they'd be interested in Pete Alonso. And I did because I'm like,
did you really?
Right, guys. Yeah, because I'm like, hey, let's pivot. Let's go. Let's start signing some dudes. And I'm good friends with Pete, and I love him. Pete Alonso, 30 years old, doesn't hit for average at all. Is not a great defensive first baseman. But look, his bat in Yankee Stadium would obviously be awesome. He's one of the pure power hitters in the game. But I don't think he's going to be a Yankee. I don't. It's funny you bring up Fried because Fried got the wealthiest contract any lefty pitcher has ever gotten in the history of baseball. And it was $500 million less than what Soto got.
It is good to be Juan Soto these days. This is the great Craig Carton, Radio Hall of Famer, those big days at WFAN, now doing a tremendous job as the TV host of Breakfast Ball every morning on Fox Sports 1. Let's shift gears. Right now, we are kind of top-heavy. There are very good football teams in both conferences, but we got a pair of 12-win teams. One's the Lions. They look relatively unbeatable. The other, Kansas City. They don't win by big margins every week, but it doesn't matter. They've won the last 2 Super Bowls, and Mahomes finds a way to win football games. Is it as easy as Lions versus Chiefs? Or do teams like, Green Bay should scare at least teams like the Lions?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, I think at the NFC it's a 2-horse race, and there's only 2, and that's the Eagles and the Lions. Let's see if the Eagles implode now with this nonsense between Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown.
You don't think on a Sunday? Look, the Eagles have played great football. They've won 9 straight. You could make the very good argument Barkley should be the MVP. But for a team that's got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts can't throw the football. I'm telling you that the Green Bay Packers can go to Philly with Jordan Love and beat that team.
Yeah, see, I don't think they can. I think the wild card in the NFC, believe it or not, is actually the Rams. I think if the Rams, because they've got a Hall of Fame quarterback in Stafford, if Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are both healthy, which is rare, they've got as good a wide receiver duo as there is in the league. They're building a pretty good running back by committee, with Williams and with Corm now. And I think the Rams are a problem for people. They damn near beat the Lions in Detroit in the playoffs last year. They're well coached, like I said, Hall of Fame quarterback in Matthew Stafford. I still think it's Detroit and Philly. But if there was a team that would scare me, it would be the Rams, not the Packers.
Listen, I can't argue that. The Rams are now 7-6, and what did they do last week? They put up 44 points and beat Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. They are that good. You're right. Those wide receivers, that may be the best wide receiving core in football, and the Michigan rookie Blake Corum. Watch him. You're right. Another very good running back. You know, you look at the NBA now, too. We'll move from league to league. We did baseball. We did football. Knickerbockers, I think they've won 5 out of 6. Towns is a double-double waiting to happen. Brunson is always good. The rest of those guys kind of pick their spots. But I got to tell you, the guy on the Knicks that I love watching play, that is much better than people even talk about, I think, is Anunoby. He gets very little talk, Craig Carton, but that kid can play.
No, he's a stud muffin. Absolutely right. And while the New York Knicks have won 5 out of 6, you can see what this team, why they're going to be so problematic for everybody else when it comes to the playoffs, because they do it all. They're a damn good defensive team. They've got like the best offensive rating in the sport right now. They can beat you inside. They can beat you outside. They've got a clear general on the court in Jalen. Karl Anthony Towns, if you take Jokic and put him aside for a second, Karl Anthony Towns is the MVP of the league right now. And I know I'm a Knicks fan, so, shut up, you dumb Knicks fan. I'll give you a Charlie Kirk. Prove I'm wrong.
I love Charlie.
Yeah, so Anunoby's great. Bridges found his shot again, at least the last couple of weeks. And they're fun to watch, man. And it's funny, when you were saying that, I thought you were going to go down the road of Josh Hart. Because Josh Hart is like the Swiss Army knife for this team. And if you haven't watched a lot of Knicks basketball, that dude does everything. He plays damn near 48 minutes a night, and he does it all. I love Josh Hart, and he's one of those rare guys that, we all love the 90s Knicks and the gritty toughness. Josh Hart could have played on those 90 Knicks teams.
Oh, there's no doubt. He's a very you're talking about being an unselfish player. He can go out there and score 24 points, but he does all that nasty, gritty, dirty work like Charles Oakley would do, except he's actually a very talented offensive player. He is the heart. Josh Hart is the heart of that Knicks team, but the athleticism of Anunoby just continues to shock me almost every night. I know that our guy over there from Duke, who we drafted years ago, was having a good year for Toronto. Right now, quickly kind of disappeared, but R.J. Barrett's having a very good year. But turns out that was a pretty good trade for the Knicks. So in wrapping this up, Craig, you're a pretty tough guy, strong kid. You can handle yourself, and this has nothing to do with sports. So,
you just did a little dice right there, you're right.
So I got really heavily involved in this Daniel Penny case. One of his attorneys, Thomas Kniff, happens to be one of my very, very best friends, and I was there from day one before Fox News jumped on it, everybody else jumped on it. I was bringing Kniff on from day one. We get the not guilty verdict back a couple of days ago. I have been in a situation not that long ago where I defended an Orthodox Jew against a half-drunk black guy 11 o'clock in the morning and was ready to have a physical altercation. I was scared. I admit it. I was scared, but I did it. Now that this verdict came back not guilty, I would do it again. Craig, you're in the city. You're on the train. You see something go down after this Penny verdict. Are you stepping in?
Yeah, look, I don't know that the Penny verdict has much to do with it. You're either the type of person that does or doesn't. And I think we all hope and think that we are that type of person. And, knock on wood, we're never in the position like you were in, like Penny was in, to find out who we really are at our core. Because right now it's just, talk, right? I think I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe I'm that guy. But push comes to shove, if there's a crazy, drug-fueled, crazy man on the train, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'd like to think, obviously, I step up and protect my own. But if he's a half a car down from me, do I sit on my ass? I don't know. I'm not going to be a tough guy and tell you, I get up and I take care of business. I'd like to think I would.
Yeah.
I also don't ride the subway anymore. Because why even put myself in that spot? Look, I think it's always sad when someone dies. Let's just say that. That being said, I think the thing that resonated most with me, and obviously with the jury, is, most of us ride the subway for the better part of our lives if you're born and raised in any one of the 5 boroughs. I would hope that a guy like Daniel Penny, if I'm not that guy, is on my train. if and when a madman starts going berserk. And to me, it's as simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less.
That is well said. That is well said, 100%. He was a hero. What he did was heroic, and you're right. We should have more Daniel Pennies on the subway every day. All right.
But it's not like, I know this is going to sound like the old man on the lawn, but, when you and I grew up, like in the 1970s, everything got settled with your knuckles, right? If you and I had a beef at some point, we're going to fight, and we're going to move on from that fight. We'll probably become best friends after the fight, right?
Yes.
But nowadays, if we're going to fight, it's not just me versus you. Now there's 5 other people, 19 people filming it. Right. You probably got some kind of weapon on you.
Right. And
it's just not the same thing anymore. And I can tell you that what they call K2, I guess the synthetic marijuana that he was on, I've seen people on that drug. It's a crazy drug that makes people do crazy things. And one of the reasons a lot of people use it, it's referred to as the deuce on the street, is because there's no test for it. So, like, if you're on probation, if you're in prison, if you're, getting tested once a week, you can smoke all the deuce you want. There's no test for it. And that's why guys do it. And I saw a guy jump off a 4-story building and not remember it on that stuff.
Jeez.
I've seen that.
Wow.
So
yeah. Wow. Was Ray Rossi okay after that?
You're funny. Yeah.
The great Ray Rossi. How about that?
Good man. He's a very good man.
Well, listen, you had a great 2024 Radio Hall of Fame, all that good stuff, all deserved, and nobody happier for you than I am. And I'm sure 2025 is going to be great, too. You've been great on this show, too. When you stop by, I appreciate it. So a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you, Kimmy, all your wonderful children, and we will do this again very, very soon. Thank you so much, Craig Carton.
Always a pleasure, always fun. Anytime, just call. I'll always be there for you. And I do feel bad for the 2 people who will not have your presence at the party tonight. Because I'm sure they told their friends, I invited Sid Rosenberg. And half of them said, who? And the other half said, okay.
You are so right. Craigie, great job. We'll talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you again.
Take care. There he is, the host of Breakfast Ball on Fox Sports 1 every weekday morning. Craig Carton. We'll take a short break. Big 7 o'clock hour about to come your way. And, of course, we always kick it off right after the news with Noam with the great Curtis Sliwa. Wednesday edition, Sid and Friends in the morning. I'm coming right back.